everyone. Welcome back to TJ Hates Quitters, where we cover anything the challenge. We're currently covering All Stars Season 3 over here on Silent Podcast, where we are anything but silent. I am joined by two guests this evening that I am so excited to have here. First and foremost, I am joined by Naomi. Naomi, welcome to TJ Hates Quitters. How are you this evening?
Oh my God, I am so good. I got drunk before the challenge and now I'm ready to party with a giant hangover. I can't wait. Thank you for having me, you guys. I'm so excited. I love the challenge.
Naomi's throwing it back to the early wheelbarrow race challenges. She's ready to be on the beach, and she wants to win a Huffy 3-speed bike at the end of this.
Yeah, and then I want to cry on camera and have my mascara running down my face in a hot tub. I can't wait.
Okay, well, that's basically Kendall every episode, so you need to pick like a generation here.
It's true. I'll come back to you. I'll circle back.
Okay, thank you. And my other guest for this evening is my very lovely co-host from basically everything else that I do on this network, Katie. Katie, long time no see. How are you doing tonight?
Long time no see. I'm glad you're not sick of me yet. I'm doing great. I apologize for my red face. I just snuck in a brief workout to get ready for our next challenge. But I'm really excited to be here. I'm ecstatic to talk about the challenge. The challenge was my first foray into competition reality, so I'm very excited to get to talk about it. I apologize for that I just said also, by the way.
Katie, when season 48 of the challenge's podcast hosts, are we going to be partners?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wait. Oh my gosh. It's like, no, I mean, never mind. I don't know how people feel about future season themes or casts. So I had a good joke there, but I don't want to make anybody mad this early into the podcast. Katie,
keep it spoiler free.
Yeah, we'll do our best. Sometimes shit just slips and I can't help it, but I mean,
there's your warning.
Yeah. Sorry in advance for anything I say ever, period. This is your apology.
Blanket apology.
Yeah. You might need it. Katie, you said that this was your first entrance into reality TV. So you've been a fan for ever?
Yeah, as you know, Kari, I'm a Real World fan.
I
was a Real World back in the day, dabbled in Road Rules, not as much as Real World. And then when the challenge started, I jumped right in. So I know a lot of people started with Survivor or Big Brother. The challenge was it for me, the original reality competition show. So I'm excited to talk about it.
And Naomi, where do you date back in your challenge viewing?
Yeah, Katie, that's so crazy because it was also my first show that I watched. Now,
awesome.
I don't want to make anybody feel old, anyone who's listening, but I was watching when I would come home from middle school and high school and my mom wasn't home. The challenge would be on the TV and I could watch the challenge without my mom catching me watching the MTV. So it was great. Channel 53 on my home TV. I love
Shout out to Channel 53.
Yeah. It was 52 for me. Disney Channel was 53.
Oh, old school used to be 29 out on Long Island, then it changed to 53.
Classic. Yeah. Well, I also think for me, the challenge is so visceral, and I went back and watched a lot of it during quarantine, and especially Rivals 2, that kind of era of the challenge. I had so many favorites that became not favorites because I realized they were horrible people, and then not favorites became favorites. Just over time, it was really such a fun show, and I also think I probably learned some terrible lessons about adulthood from watching the challenge. In retrospect,
I love your two connection to it. I'm glad we have some OG fans here this evening. Naomi, do you have a favorite on the cast for this season?
Well, we'll get into what last season. Who was I rooting for most of all? I love John A. I was always a big John A fan. We'll get into why maybe John A is turning into a little bit of an interesting character these days. But I'm also a huge Sylvia fan. I love Sylvia. I think that she's not strong enough to be super overpowering and annoying, but she's really smart. And I love when she got to the finals with Joss, I was really rooting for them, even though Joss is whatever. And so Sylvia is one of my faves. Do I wish she would play her own game from Kayla? Yes. But at the end of the day, how can you not root for Sylvia? She's got a little stepson now, or a stepchild. It's great. I love it.
Katie, who's yours this season?
Mine this season and always is Darrell. I'm a huge Darrell fan. I just love watching him on TV. I feel like he's so dynamic and just he makes me laugh out loud. And he's also just a great competitor. I love him. Um, I'm excited to see Naya back. And I know it's not the most popular opinion, but I am a Wes fan.
Me
He's
too.
He's entertaining. So I always love when Wes is on a challenge.
I love Wes, not as much as
Yeah.
I love CT, but I support Wes. This is a Wes supporting household.
Yes,
So
same.
sorry in advance, but I know he's done a couple of things, but haven't they all that are a little bit problematic?
Exactly.
And you know,
For
we
the
gotta
challenge,
take
I
it
feel
with the bad.
like everybody would get kind of roasted if we went through everybody's problematic
Yes.
history. It's just
Yes.
with having them have been on television for so long, it's almost impossible for any of them to have a clean slate, unfortunately. Also,
I
shout
agree
out to
with you.
Tina. I do love Tina as well. I'm
Yes.
upset that she is no longer able to compete. So
Yeah, we lost her.
she's
too
another
soon.
favorite. Way too soon.
Here, I have a question for both of y'all. How do you feel about the people coming to play All Stars who are like Kayla's age? Kayla is 2 years older than I am, and she's playing with people in their 40s. How do you feel
Yeah.
about like the fairness of like, should you just be on the main challenge, or are you coming here to bully like people in their 40s?
Katie, do you have opinion? Because I kind of have an opinion.
I do have an opinion. When
Go
I saw
ahead.
this cast announced, I was not happy to see people, even Wes, honestly, I wasn't thrilled to see because he's on so many of the regular challenges. I want to watch this show to see people I haven't seen in a long time. I'm here for the Nehemiahs. I'm here for the MJs and the John A's. Like those are the people that I want to see. Kayla, I feel like stick to the regular challenge. I know Naomi, you like Sylvia. Same thing though. I don't feel like they're seasoned enough to be considered all stars. I kind of like hold the term all stars to be a little bit sacred, which is weird. But it just when you have a Darrell, when you have a Tina, when you have a Veronica, who are literal icons of this show, I don't feel like it's the right place to have also a Kayla and a Sylvia, who are great, but I just don't consider them all stars yet. And if they go back on the main challenge and then also back on All Stars, I just feel like it kind of like muddies things.
Yeah, I think you got to pick a lane. Either you're playing with All Stars forever, or you are strictly doing the. You can't do both. That's just mean.
Agreed.
But I think like the reverse of it is Anissa, in the fact that like she was on season 1, she's still doing the flagship seasons, and like I think she should be strictly all stars, because quite frankly I don't think she has a chance to win a regular season anymore. I think that the fan of me is like, why are these people here? Like Jordan can go on any season right now and potentially
he's another
win.
one that I'm like, we don't need Jordan on this.
Wes can go on, Kayla, Sylvia, like those 4 especially can go on and potentially win a regular season right now. However, I do think there is a bit of trying to bring in the younger challenge fan, the ones who like might be in their like early-ish mid 20s and might not connect with like an MJ being on here, or Yes, or whoever it may be. So that's like I think about the challenge a lot side of me saying that. I also have to get something out here so you guys know it. I like Kayla. I'm a Kayla fan. And for the reason of, I think that she knows who she is, and I like that she doesn't try to hide behind her behavior. She owns her shit, and she is loyal as fuck. Like when she's with someone, she's with someone. And I always appreciate that, because I feel like when I play games that's how I am as well. So I appreciate her sense of humor, and she's like self-aware. She isn't like, oh, me, huh? I'm a bitch? No way. Me?
Yeah.
Like, so I also like that, like, I mean, Katie, you might have watched it as our resident Real World fan, but her season, when I
actually skipped that season.
You didn't make a bad choice.
Exes and I watched Skeletons, but that one what is that, Go Big or Go Home or something?
Yeah.
I skipped that one.
You didn't make a wrong choice there by any means.
I don't think that I did.
One of the things they had to do was like walk up this mountain, and she like couldn't do it. And when I say mountain, I say like oversized hill, actually.
Okay.
And so it's cool to see that she like took that and wanted to be on the challenge and like started working out and got into it. So I do appreciate what she's done for herself to put herself in a situation to be now. So anyway, I'm a Kayla fan. I know a lot of people hate her.
Well,
but I
I'm with
like her.
commenter. I'm with Eric who's commenting, saying I like to root against Kayla. I love to watch Kayla lose a final. When she loses that final, the one that Kara wins, that like Kyle's in. I can't remember which season that is, but like I love watching Kayla lose because she talks a big game. She's someone who's always there to talk a big game, and she does really well up until the final. And I love watching somebody all season, like, you know, nothing will beat the American team gassing out in War of the Worlds. You know what I mean? Like there will never
that is
be
like a beautiful master
Exactly.
class of just a disaster.
That's what I love about the final, whereas like sometimes in other shows like Survivor or Big Brother, like there isn't necessarily a comeuppance that can happen, but if people talk shit all season long and they can't pull it out in the final, it's just way fun to me.
Yeah.
Also keeps calling them old, and it's like, yeah, Kayla, you were here so that you could be better than the old people. I don't know why you're like bragging about that. You just have an advantage. Stop bragging.
And that's the thing that bothers me about like the younger people, or the people who are like from the older school Real World seasons. I don't know if they're going to bring people in who didn't originate from Real World or Road Rules. I'm not sure if they've really crossed that yet. I don't think they've brought in any Are You the One people yet or anything like that. But like these people are literal icons. And if you're going to be here just to call them old, like I get that you want to have this villain persona, but like just go back to the regular show. Like we don't need this from you. Like we're all excited to see these people back on our screens. I'm not here for someone just like there to call them old.
How old do you think Jordan is?
34.
Didn't he say he was like 31, 32?
He's 32.
I was going to guess 33, but I added a number.
Yeah, I thought he was older. Wes is 38. Actually, it says about 38 on Google, so I guess we're rounding.
About 38?
Yeah, I'm not even joking. It says about 38. We're rounding to the closest 38 here.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to put age in perspective, because I know in the first season I was like, Jemmye is my age. So like, am I old? I
personally feel like Jemmye's too young to be on All Stars. I know she's been in the mix for a really long time, but I feel like she's like on the cusp of like, she's been on regular challenges recently. I just like, I don't know.
My theory is, so like Wes and Jordan, they bring drama because Brad and Mark are just going to be like, well, we're just going to Hulk out to the end. It's like, okay, we fucking get it. Congrats on your steroid use. But at the very least, like Jemmye would suck on the regular challenge. And that's kind of where I draw the line. It's like, would they suck on the regular challenge? Yes, then fine, put them on All Stars. But would they do good on the regular challenge? Yes, then no, keep them off All Stars. Like I'm not watching people to watch them like fail, although I do love watching them fail at puzzles, but you know what I mean. You want to see the people bring the drama and the excitement in a season where they can actually participate, rather than just like sitting out of everything because they can't do it because they're not good at it.
I do also wonder, and not to be like the Kendall of this situation, but because they're like, the majority of them are older, and I do think there is the allure of like, oh, I only have to do this for like 3 weeks instead of 3 months, because the challenges now are like a decade long,
literally never ending. Yeah.
That oh, okay, like I can go and do this, maybe win some money and do it for a 10th of the time, sign me up. So I feel like if you get the call to do it, because that's the other thing is, I don't think like Kayla clearly didn't know who Mark Long was before this. I don't think that she's like calling up Mark Long.
There's no way that Kayla didn't know who Mark Long was. Do you really think so?
I don't think she didn't know him where she could like text him.
No,
and be
probably
like,
not personally. Yeah.
Like, hey, put my name into the running for this. Like, I do think that once you get the call, it's like, oh wait, I only have to go and do this for 3 weeks. And because I'm younger than most of these people, I stand at least a better chance than when I'm playing against like the 24-year-old Olympic athlete in Theo on like the regular season or whatever. RIP is I, but like I don't know. I get it. I kind of get it. So I see all the perspectives of it. I will say that I do like having more of the older people, and I don't want them to like put too many younger people into All Stars too quickly.
I think for me, the thing is like some of these people were cast at like the peak of reality TV. And we kind of talked about this, Kari, with some of the Real World casts as well. Like the casting back when some of these shows were being made, it's the same with Old School Survivor. It's the same with Old School Big Brother. Real World is like classic, amazing casting. Pre-influencer days, like people who were just like on the show because they were fans or, you know, they were great characters. That's what I feel like All Stars is full of. But then when you get the trickles in of like the Kaylas and even the Jemmies to an extent, they're just like messy on social media. They do it for attention. And that kind of like takes away from kind of like that core, like amazing, like you're not finding a Beth on social media to cast from. You know what I mean? Like she's a diamond in the rough.
That's also
Veronica.
She probably would get banned from Twitter within like 48 hours of being on there. But
fun fact, she used to follow me on Twitter. I don't know if she still does, but like back in like 2010, and I was like, why is Beth from the Real World following? It was very weird. But yeah, I just think like there's such a difference in casting in the old seasons versus the new that's also something that I think like kind of adds to what makes an all-star versus like you can just go on the regular challenge. I also think that challenges on All Stars are almost like a little harder because I feel like in the regular season of the challenge, it's all just like hang off a truck and then like grab stuff. And it's like it takes no actual skill. It's like you can't practice hanging off a truck. Where some of these, it's like you need to swim well. And you need that on the regular challenge too. But I feel like it's almost like more suited for like actual skill versus the regular challenge now, which is very gimmicky with just like explosions in the background.
I really have not. Oh, sorry, I really have not found any enthusiasm for the challenges of the last season. I was trudging through last season of the challenge.
I didn't finish it.
It's just so boring to me. Like all the ways that they were split. You know, the most exciting part of that was when Amanda was fucking over that one group of people because Amanda was going to do what Amanda was going to do, and that was like so late in the game and like it didn't really pay off because Amanda couldn't really get anywhere. Anyways, this is all to say that like I'm so bored by the regular challenge. Yeah. And I'm so not bored by All Stars, even though I think the differences are very minimal, besides like having an entertaining cast. First of all, I love that we get the parties again. I love the parties. And not just going to a stupid club in a bubble. Like I love the parties. That's my favorite part of the challenge. But I also think the challenges, like you said, are a little more dynamic. They have a little more of like the thinking to them. You gotta do a puzzle, you gotta swim, like and especially we see the fear of heights take so many people out this time.
Yes.
And I think it's more fun.
And the strategy. I think even in this episode, we saw a lot of strategy around like who's going to be on the team with who, because the chances are we're going to have to vote someone out or someone's going to have to be last and go into the elimination. So it's like you actually get some thinking involved where instead it's not like just run through a wall as fast as you can. I don't know if that's like a challenge on the regular challenge. I'm just making things up at this point because I can't use hang off a truck again because I already used it. But like, you know what I mean? I just feel like there's actual like, there's more to it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest difference in the challenge versus Challenge All-Stars is two things. One, Katie, you very touched on is the need for it to be gimmicky. Like, okay, we have these big explosions that do nothing. And it's very like movie-esque. And they are purposefully doing that. I've heard interviews of that. Versus, or even just like the twists on like, you need a skull, you need this, you have to like be able to, I don't know, like sing the alphabet underwater 3 times in order to play TJ's final or whatever. Like you have to do these.
Yeah, it feels like a real life org is what it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like
versus like the All-Stars is back to basics. Like you lose, you go into the challenge. That's the elimination. That's it. And then sure, put people in power. Like I like that they have to make these decisions and you have the sabotage as well. Like it's simplistic. There's still some politics that go on. Alliances still matter, but they don't run everything because the power changes. And you have to actually at least be good enough to not lose to avoid the elimination. Like, yes, we've seen people the last 2 seasons get to the final without having to go elimination, but that's, I think, also part of the game where they've made all these twists to avoid that on the regular one. And just give me the simplicity of All Stars, but give me like the people who can excel in these challenges like the regular challenge players. I want
Yeah.
that combination.
Yeah, I think last place goes automatically into the elimination is like vital, and that
Yes.
needs to go back to the main show. I also think the skull or needing to win an elimination to get into the final needs to go. Like I don't think that that's an entertaining format to watch, because it's always just going to be like, okay, well, I'll go in this time and then you can go in next time, and then it's like there's no, it's just not interesting. This is more interesting because there's actual strategy around like, okay, well, we can get Jordan out now because he's really good at challenges, and like this one is one he wasn't good at. It's like there's actual strategy that you need to think about instead of like, well, I'm going to throw myself in. I want to go in because I need a skull. And it's like nobody wants to see somebody volunteering to go into an elimination. Like that's not fun.
Yeah,
I'm fine if someone makes a final without hitting an elimination. That just means they played a good game.
Yeah, and you guys are hitting it, and Josh mentions it in the comments. Like the main show should have auto elimination. Auto last place goes into elimination, because also if you have the concept of the skull, right, or the like, you need to earn this to get to the final. Then what you also need on top of that, which is what like 2 seasons ago, the season where Jay was on had, where if you lost, you could go in and get your skull. Like people, you can't rely on the house giving you your skull, essentially.
Yeah.
It needs to have the element of like, oh, I could lose this challenge, maybe even on purpose, and go into elimination and get my skull. But if a person is hindered from doing that because they're just simply not in the majority of the house, I think really the house vote should be gone. I think there should be no house vote. I like the authority. I like winning matters and losing matters. And if you're in the middle, you're still vulnerable. I feel like that's just the perfect recipe for a challenge season.
You hear that, TJ Lavin? Just follow what we're saying. I know you're
also,
listening.
Please, no more spy themes. Please, no more spy themes. Can't take
I think
it anymore.
the next season theme should be like Ocean's 11. And it should be like they should just have a huge house and they're trying to break into all these different rooms, and that's each challenge of the week. Or just go back to Gulag. I liked Gulag style, where it was like, we're gonna trap you in this room and spray paint the walls, and you gotta scratch the paint chips off the wall.
Oh my god, yeah.
And it looked fucking miserable.
Yes, it did. It did.
All right, well, we are officially 22 minutes into our podcast and have not talked about this episode at all, so we are crushing the recap portion of it.
Killing it.
No, this is, I think, a great conversation about the challenge, but let's dive into this episode. So we get something that I can't recall ever seeing, which is being told that they're on a day off. Do you remember them ever being like, yeah, we have this day off right now, and you're getting to see us play beer pong, play flip cup, having big old barbecue? Like, I feel like it's never actually been narrated to us as in, yeah, today we have nothing. Thank God.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that specifically outlined before. I know there have been times where like people who win the challenge get to like go off and do like a little excursion as a day off, but I don't remember them like actually saying like today is a day off for you.
Yeah, the challenge is one of those shows where I work in film and TV. I would pay $1 million to see like their schedule and how they shoot it. Same with The Amazing Race. I'd love to know how they shoot The Amazing Race, because to me it's just like, how, like when they say a day off, the cameras are still there. So like, is it because the rigging is really big? Like, and so I think it has to do with probably what the challenge itself is coming up. But I love it. I love that they can just have a day out on the beach and like enjoy themselves in the outdoors, because I think also like this is a very attractive cast. I love seeing them having fun together. I love that they're friends, and that's what I really come to the challenge for, is like the relationships that exist within the house.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to the casting of it all. Like, we're just here to watch them hang out. That's what we used to watch them doing on the real world, and they make good TV when they're just hanging out and riffing off each other. And like that's really what I'm here for. I'm not here. I don't really care that much about the challenges themselves.
Naomi, I know you said that this is a very attractive cast. How attracted were you to Darrell when he was wearing that big old wig and they timed it perfectly to my favorite intro of any song of all time, Ja Rule's "What's My Motherfucking Name?" And at the RULE, Darrell turns with that big ass wig on. Oh my God.
I lost it. I have to say, like, I season 1, we can go back into, I'll pull up the receipts of my challenge group chat, but season 1, and I'm so glad Nehemiah's on every season, because Nehemiah looks so good. And like,
Agreed.
I love it. And I even tweeted about this at the time, but what I love more than anything about the Challenge All Stars is that there are so many non-size 2 women on the cast. And there are
Yes.
lots of men too. Like I love Tyler so much. I was devastated to see Tyler go first because Tyler's coming back. Tyler does not look the same as Tyler used to, but he's so happy to be himself and get it in drag and like do whatever. And I love that the challenge shows such an incredible strength in women who are not like stick skinny and are full of like fillers and veneers, and like that is kind of what bums me out about the challenge. Like sometimes you just look at like a really over photoshopped photo of Nani and you feel bad that she like thinks that she needs to post it, you know what I mean? Like, and so I love the authenticity of the women that are on this season and the men, and everybody's showing themselves for being 40 and 50 and still kick-ass and strong and like working really hard. And I think that it's really cool. Like that's what I love about the Challenge All Stars so much. And also Nehemiah is really hot.
Nani's only 33. Wow.
I didn't even think she
know.
was. I would have guessed if you asked me probably like 29 or 30 is what I would.
Oh, see, I would have said like 36, but it's not based off of looks. It's more so just like how long I've watched Nani for. But
Yeah,
it
exactly.
makes sense because like we're the same age. So it's like I've basically am going through my life at the same time in the same age group as Nani. So it just feels like she's been around forever.
I just want to say to everybody, don't get veneers. Don't do it. I've been watching a doctor on TikTok who talks about celebrities who get veneers, and like it's not worth it. You're gonna fuck up your teeth, and it's just not. Don't get veneers. Don't like the challenge, guys. Your teeth are beautiful just the way they are.
You don't need teeth like Kyle's.
I was thinking Kyle. That's when you said veneers, I think Kyle.
You don't.
So even though it's a day off on the challenge, we still have a lot of gameplay conversation happening. First, we have Brad saying that MJ told him his vote basically doesn't count. It doesn't matter because there's more people that want what MJ wants. So Brad plans on using the sabotage against MJ. And not to jump too far ahead, he follows through on it. This wasn't like okay, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Like, I also feel like it's easier for Brad to compete when he doesn't have to think too much about what's going on. So good for Brad for picking an enemy and having it makes it simpler for him. What do you think of this emerging Brad and MJ rivalry, Katie?
I mean, I agree with you about Brad not having to think too hard about playing the game. Brad, I find him to be, I think he's kind of iconic just in the sense like his original Real World season was a great season, but I'm just not a Brad fan. I feel like he just doesn't really know how to play the game very well. And I think I'm definitely on team MJ here. I think MJ's smart. I'm excited to see him back. When he originally came back on last season, I was kind of like, MJ, who cares? But I actually think he's been great on the show. And I think he's got a good mind for the game. I love him and Janae as a pair. So I'm rooting for MJ over Brad, I think, every day, just every day, period. I can't get Brad and Brittany out of my mind, which is like so disgusting to me. Like I'm not over it. Not over it.
Yeah, that's exactly where Brad is in my head at all times. Yeah. And also like Brad needs to shave his head. He's just got like that spiky little like he looks like a cartoon character where like it's just like lines drawn out of their head. Brad is like my favorite Hot Mess Express because he's not really hurting anybody. He's just a disaster. And it's kind of really funny to watch. But I will say that for me, I think that like I feel bad mostly for Kendall in this spot because Kendall giving MJ the grenade or whatever the sabotage last week, she just kind of like made a choice. She didn't really know what to do. Poor Kendall, clearly nobody speaks to her about anything strategic wise, right? So then when John
Kellyanne tries to.
Yeah, why would you do that? Clearly she has no clue what's going on. That's why she did it. She doesn't know what's happening. So I think that MJ is like a little too big for his britches. Like you're playing a game. You can get sabotaged, MJ.
Oh, for sure.
You're playing a game. You can't just go to somebody in the authority and be like, yeah, your vote doesn't really matter to me. Like, I think his social game is a little weak at this moment in time. So I would never want to see Brad win the challenge. Don't get me wrong. But like, I would like to see MJ knock down a few pegs, I think is my take.
I think MJ rides Jonna's social coattails 100%. He benefits from her social abilities, although I do think that a little looking ahead in the crystal ball is that we're going to see a little bit of trouble in paradise. So yikes. But anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, MJ has his shit with Kendall. I don't know how to defend Kendall anymore besides like she can do well in challenges. She can potentially win eliminations. We saw it in season 1. But I think Kellyanne said it best to her last episode when she's like, we have to stop playing nice. Like, we have to start playing smart. Kendall doesn't think about this game and in the way that it needs to be thought about. And that drives me nuts because, like, okay, this is your 3rd season in a row and you have sacrificed things to be here because I know that she was having, like, issues with her job letting her go and whatever. Like, you're doing a lot to be here. Please play the game. You can't just play the challenges. You need to play the game. And it's just frustrating at this point to see someone who, if they were to put a little bit of like social and political effort into it, could actually do a lot. Because I think the guys would want her around to run a final with. Because you don't know how the final is going to be. Last season, halfway through, TJ's like, this is your pair for the rest of the game. So, like, I don't think anyone's mad that they're with Kendall if they get paired with her. She just needs to do something to like protect herself in being there.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. She does not know how to actually play the game. She's good at challenges. She's physically fit. She's good at all of that stuff. When it comes to the actual challenge and the game of the challenge, she is terrible at it. She's terrible at it, and she doesn't grow into being better. It's just like last week when she was waffling between who to give the thing to. I'm like, why would anybody want to approach you and like have an alliance with you? Like, it's just like you're not really a reliable ally in the game. I would like to see her just like come around a little bit more, but I don't know if that's something that you can like grow into, especially at this point.
She almost sabotaged herself.
I know. You are not made out for this, ma'am. You're not. I'm sorry.
My like Kendall hot take is that I think you guys kind of hit the nail on the head. The men should be using Kendall. Because when you're in the authority, it doesn't matter. Like you have 3 male votes and you have 3 female votes, right? So even if you had 3 female votes, if you like, you can just get maybe Kellyanne makes it into the authority or something. If the men are on your side and you can sort of garner those votes because of exactly what you guys said, I'll run with you in a final. I'm good in a final. I will be loyal and consistent to you. I think if Kendall's brand is loyalty, she needs to run with that. But she's only running with it in that, like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Like, this is not TJ's best friend race. We know this. This is for like a lot of freaking money that she's blowing every opportunity. I mean, I was sick of Kendall by this episode, and I understand, like, you know, she's going through a lot. I get it. She's very sweet. Very, very sweet. Shaved her head. That's really cool. But stop complaining. At least Kellyanne is like understands what's going on, and she's just gonna be like, "Well, I'm gonna try and beat your ass." Like that's the energy I want. And Kendall just gives up, and it's such a shame. I think if she could play the game really well. She's not bad. She's not in a bad position because of her physicality. She's in a really good position that she fumbles every time.
Yeah, totally.
Do you guys believe Darrell when he said that he's been avoiding the authority because there's too many people here that he likes and he doesn't want to make them mad and be responsible for sending them home? Because I don't know if you guys saw him on the swing last week. I had a hard time believing that.
I don't believe that to be true. Sorry, Darrell.
Yeah, I question that as well.
Darrell protecting his image in the post. He had it.
Yeah.
And next we visited with Naya and Jordan. Naya says that they've had this sexual tension for years. It just makes me uncomfortable. And she doesn't know how much longer they won't act on it. If Jordan cut his hair, then I would say, okay, Naya, but what the fuck is on top of his head right now?
Literally, how can you have sexual tension with someone that looks like that right now, currently? I do not understand. It's the most horrendous hair I've ever seen in my life. Ever. It's horrible. It like gets worse every time I look at it.
It's like there was a challenge where they said, we're going to blindfold everyone and you get to take one like razor cut on Jordan's hair and then everybody wins except Jordan. Jordan loses and goes into elimination on that one because how his head looks.
It's horrible.
And I really don't like Nia. Like I never enjoyed her on. It was like a rival season, right? Rivals 3 or no? What was the X's? It's X's, right? She's Leroy's.
I think it was X's.
It was X's.
I think it was
with
X's.
Leroy. Yeah,
yeah.
Because that was probably Leroy's best chance to win a season.
Yeah, because that's.
But then he got Teresa, Teresa's great.
Yeah,
I love Teresa. Oh God, I love Teresa. I hope Teresa. See, that's the shame that Teresa didn't do so well on the Real Challenge, and she would have like busted ass on Challenge All Stars.
She is someone I want to see on All Stars. She would be incredible on All Stars. I think she just recently had another child or is maybe still pregnant. But if she ever wanted to come back, boo kids. Children. Yeah, nobody had children.
Making
but
your
I think
lives more precious and meaningful.
Yeah, nobody wants that. We want you on Challenge All Stars. But I think that would be the perfect format for her, like the perfect setting for her, rather than these like other ones where you need to get a skull and whatever. It was just a mess.
My question to y'all, because I'll say this, Jordan in the early days, was Jordan hooking up with Laurel? Is that like a relationship?
They dated, I believe.
That was one of my favorite challenge relationships. And I know who they are. I understand. But I always like Jordan when he is in these romantic escapades until the Tori stuff, because then it was just like, all right, we get it. You guys are like, you like each other and you make Instagram posts together. But I'm wondering what your favorite challenge relationship was, whether it lasted like 2 weeks or like, forever and ever. And why is it CT and DM? I'm just kidding.
That's true. Like,
I have a hot take. I don't like CT and DM as in a relationship. It's for another podcast. We'll talk about it. I don't want to get into it. Not my favorite couple.
A lot of fighting going on in that relationship.
Yeah, not great. She didn't go to his brother's funeral after he got murdered. I mean, come on. What are you doing, DM? I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. Oh, that's a good question. It's definitely not Laurel and Nicole. Are you guys ready to potty? It's not her. That's for sure. I have to scan my brain. It's not Zach and Jenna.
I was gonna say, my favorite. I was about to say that. I was about to say that.
Definitely Camry.
You we could have jinxed Omi a Coke on that one because I was literally about to say that. Yes.
Congratulations to them, by the way. Having a baby, engaged, living their best lives. I love it.
And okay, this isn't my favorite, but I am happy for Nany that she is currently happy with Casey. I am not a big Casey fan because I think she's boring, but if they are actually in a healthy relationship, then I'm happy that Nany is happy, because I personally Nany's worn her wear out for me on the regular challenge. She's never going to win a real challenge. She might hold her own here if she were to come to All Stars, but again, with growing up with her, with seeing just like hothead Nany, how it's kind of grown into like, I will step up and verbally destroy you if I need to, but will know how to stay back, and just the different things she's gone through and everything, that I'm happy if Nany is happy. So
I'm not a Casey fan.
Couple. Yeah.
But they're good together, it seems. They seem happy. I'm just not a Casey fan. I don't like generally root for Casey. But good for Nany, good for Casey.
No better moment in my life than when Fessy ruined Casey's potential. Like, that was just my favorite fucking thing, because
he really Fessied that. Yeah, I hate
Fessy to death, but like, I love that he ruined Casey's chances. That's what's so funny to me. Sometimes your friends are not going to help you. Sometimes you don't want to be with your friends. You don't want to be paired up with your friends. They're going to get you a B when you could have gotten an A. You got to be in a different group.
And Fessy was a trash partner to every woman on that season. I mean, trash to every single person. I mean, just trash in general, but.
It is a running thing from like the first iteration of our challenge podcast over here on Silent Podcast that I would make sure that even if by the end of the episode no Fessy slander had been said, that I would say it, because it needed to be said. So you guys are on brand. I appreciate bringing it without even knowing that you had to. That's phenomenal. So we'll leave Nia and Jordan alone because we are unfortunately gonna shake that up a little bit, some pun intended, later in the episode. We cut to Kayla talking about Sylvia, and obviously the Kayla and Sylvia are going after Kendall and Kellyanne. And it's funny, this is like, to me, this is why I like Kayla, where she's like, no one wants a strong power duo in here. I say this as Sylvia and I are a strong power duo in here. Like, she knows what she's saying. She knows what she's doing. I do feel like it I just don't get why them. Like, I would think that like Naya is a better competitor. Why aren't we taking shots there? But I don't know. And do you guys have any extra commentary that you need to say about Sylvia and Kayla versus Kendall and Kellyanne?
I'm not interested in either one of these pairs, to be completely honest. So I'm not on either side. I mean, I guess I'm on Kayla and Sylvia's side because I'm on Veronica's side, but I don't really care about this like rivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Josh makes a good point. We aren't seeing enough of Ronnie.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
what's devastating is that because we're stuck in this, obviously it's Kendall's elimination episode, so whatever, but like because we're stuck in this, will they, won't they, of like, are they going after each other? We're losing kind of focus on some of the more interesting people to me on the outer. And I'm hoping that we can come back to them, especially Ronnie, because I forgot that Ronnie was there because we just didn't really hear from her.
I know.
And it's like such a shame.
She's
It is
funny.
a shame. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, I hope like we weed through some of the more prominent characters a bit and they get sent home however they do, so we get a little bit more Ronnie, because I don't know if they're going to focus on her, because right now she's kind of like flying under the radar, which also isn't the worst thing for her in terms of progressing far in this game. Now we go back to MJ, but MJ is talking to Mark and Darrell is there as well, and MJ's like, do you think the sabotage is coming back at me? I think I'm never going to stop getting sabotage. Now it's been put on me once, which I don't actually think that's a very wrong idea. I think it's like easiest to just keep the mad person mad, like versus upsetting more people. I really only see it deviating if like Yes and Wes get it and they're going at each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
Otherwise, like, why not keep throwing it on the person who won last season? It's a very easy out for it. But anyway, my favorite part of this was Mark going to Darrell. I can't wait to see you up high on something, Darrell. And we go to the challenge, and they are only 150 feet above the ground. Only 150 feet attached to a bungee cord.
150 feet looked way higher than I thought 150 feet is. Like, you hear 150 feet and you don't think it's like that high, but then when you see it, you're like, oh, that's really high.
It definitely
Maybe it's just me.
It seemed higher than 150 feet. If you think of like, if every story in a building is supposed to be 10 feet, right?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
I mean, because like 10-foot ceilings, I think, are like the norm. So if you're in like a high rise in New York, Chicago, whatever. So I only have 2 degrees in it. I would have crushed that challenge, except I wouldn't have reached the blocks. I would have been like Veronica.
I know. I can't reach shit, man. Like,
yeah,
no way.
All 4. I would have needed like, it's like when you play pool. I hate playing pool because I always need the bridge to like reach it, because I'm 4'10", but my arm span is only 4'6". Like, I'm a fucking T-Rex out here. I'm a straight descendant of a T-Rex. I have a big head and I have little arms. Like, can't play pool. Anyway, shit, what point was I making? So like 15th floor of like a high-rise apartment. I lived on a 17th floor of one, and I felt like the distance down did not look as much as the 150 feet we saw on television. So anyway.
I feel like I'm still more scared of like the jumping into water challenges, because I know how fucked up you can get from jumping into water. Nobody has come off the challenge and fallen off the bungee cords, but a lot of people have jumped into a lot of bodies of water and gotten injured to the point where they can't compete anymore.
Right.
It also freaks me out to like think about the force that you're hitting the water with, and like getting that up your nose and like not being able to, like, that just gives me anxiety. I'm not a water person, so that like just the whole thought of that gives me anxiety.
You also, like, really to hit water correctly need to go in, like, stabilizing yourself beforehand, and how
Mhm.
many of those challenges you're, like, getting launched off the swing, like, spinning and stuff, like, they're
Yeah.
asking for people to get their face crushed, like, they're
Yep.
asking for injuries. I don't mind the above the water ones if there were to be an extra step of, like, we're releasing you in 3, 2, 1,
Yeah.
so
So you
that
can,
you're
like,
able to
prep,
kinda, like, brace
stiffen,
yourself and
grab your nose, whatever you need to do.
yeah. But I agree. I don't think that I mean, I'm personally not afraid of heights. Like, that challenge would be something that I would be very good at if it was height appropriate for reaching, because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, math and, like, bungee jumping, the next, like, big thing I wanna do is bungee jumping." Like, that would've been super for me. I would not be crying on the ground at TJ's knees begging him to not force me out on that plank, unlike some contestants.
Mhm, mhm.
Before we get too into the daily challenge, we have a replacement because we've lost like 8 women this season due to ankles or broken wrists. Unfortunately, Jemmy's family member is sick, so we need to bring a woman in. And did you think it was going to be Beth, or who were your guesses, and who are you hoping for, and how are you feeling about Beth being here, Naomi?
Oh, my nightmare was Cara Maria. That would have been my nightmare.
Mm. Mhm.
I was sitting there and I saw that teaser and I was like, "Fuck! If she shows up, I'm gonna lose it." No, but I was really excited to see Beth. Beth is not a good competitor. Beth is not going to win this game, but Beth is going to make a fucking mess. And but I did remember that the one thing that I really didn't like about Beth was the word tenderoni. I hated it so much, and now it's back. It's in my mind. So that's the one con, but overall, especially seeing next week's teaser, thrilled for Beth.
Katie, how are you feeling about this replacement situation?
Same. I'm thrilled with Beth. I think she makes amazing TV. I don't expect a ton out of her other than mess and great TV and drama, but and I think we got it. We got great TV from her this episode. I mean,
Mhm.
she almost went out in an iconic fashion. So I'm here for Beth 100%. I'm a Beth fan. I like that she's going to kind of shake things up within kind of the women in the house. I'm just excited to see her. And Naomi, I agree. If it was Cara Maria, I don't know that I would have been able to stick with this challenge
I
season
would have been like,
period. I
"Sorry, I
don't think I
am
could
not
watch.
on the pod.
Yeah.
I am not. I'm
Yeah.
out."
Gotta bow out.
I would have had to do this solo. It
Yeah,
would
you
have
would have
been
been here by
it would
yourself.
have
I
been
would love
me
to
and
see Laurel.
Metro.
If it were Laurel in that car, I would have been thrilled as
Yeah.
well.
So I after last week's episode, I searched because that's what I do. And there was like 2 because I didn't want to go into the spoilers.
Mhm.
So I went into like what might be, and it was between Laurel and Beth for a lot of people because Laurel, I guess, was at like the season premiere party. So people were like, oh, maybe like
Mhm.
it's Laurel who comes in. And then I think what's actually more factual is like, and I don't know if you guys heard this, but and I know I said it last week. So if you're listening last week, sorry, I'm being redundant. But um Tina and Beth get to the airport and both realize that they're there, and like more I think Beth flipped out more so than Tina, like was refusing to be on the show with her.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yes. So that's how we got Sylvia. Sylvia replaced Beth.
Oh, I didn't know this. Okay, interesting.
And so I guess with Tina leaving, they were able to like call up Beth, who probably had already figured out the time off and everything, since she was planning on being there, and was like, "Hey, can you come down and, you know, try to do some math on a plank for a little bit?" And she was like, "No, I can't do that specifically, but I'll still come down there." And
Yeah.
and that's
Specifically no to that, but
yeah, like other things maybe. You want me to
yeah,
roll around in a wire cylinder for a little while? Sure, I got you, fam. And here's Beth.
here she
So
is.
I appreciate what Beth brings in terms of drama. I do think Naomi, how you said earlier that there's people when you watch back these older seasons who you might have hated when you watched it, and then on the rewatch you're like, oh, she was actually bullied by every single woman on that cast, and you can see why she acted the way she did. Like, sure, there was things that um she could have done better, she could have handled herself better, maybe made herself more likable to people, but also she's like a 20 something who has 9 other 20 something year old women just completely trying to like destroy her life. That when I went back and watched old seasons, I liked Beth a lot more than I remembered liking her. She was one of the ones that
Mhm.
kind of like flipped switches for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like Naomi said, the worst part of Beth is her use of the word tenderoni. So we're gonna get that. Nehemiah, I think, said it perfectly. They had to give you all someone who will give you the shit you want to see.
Yes, and that is what Beth is here to do. Give us the
Mhm.
shit we want to see.
MJ said Beth was the worst back in the day, which I think is how almost everyone felt about her. So
I love these reactions to
Mhm.
Beth showing it. Like, this is like why Beth is such an icon. No one's saying this about Nom.
yeah,
No one's saying Nom is giving you the shit you want to see. No one's saying that. You know who is? Beth.
Nom.
Not to mention that, like, Nehemiah is like, she's a great friend. I love her. She's
Yeah.
so great. I love her so
Yeah.
much. She better not
Yeah.
fucking talk to me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I might sneeze, and if I randomly mute, that's why. So I'm not sneezing into a microphone. There's your warning. Usually when I announce my sneeze, it goes away. So I'm really trying to like reverse juju this. Beth's one wish though is that her and Veronica become besties. They that was the person she said by name that we've had our issues, but Veronica's here and maybe we become besties by the end of this. Do either of you foresee a best friendship out of Veronica and Beth? Oh my God, your facial expressions say it. I don't even need to. If you're not
No.
watching this on video, the best way I could describe both faces at me was ask us a dumber question, Kari, because I don't think you can.
Oh my God. I mean, you can't. I think it's even funnier that, like, both of them are like, yeah, we should really be the bigger person here and we should really move on
Yeah.
from this. And they just look at each other like, nah, fuck this bitch. I don't like her. I don't want to
Yeah,
like her.
I love it.
never
I
will.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
No mercy.
So we get into the daily challenge, which is called High Stakes. You guys are on an episode where I remembered to write the name of the game down. So pat on the back to me. It's like 50-50. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it was called. And then usually someone else fills it in. They're like, you're the host of the show? Wow. Okay, so what we've got here is TJ says everybody get into groups of 3. He doesn't say what these groups of 3 are doing. And like we mentioned earlier in the podcast that we get some commentary like, okay, well, you don't want to be with 3 friends because there's likely to be a loser of the group. You're going to vote someone out or send someone home. So you want to make sure you have at least one non-friend in the group. Nehemiah, Wes, and Brad did not think that far ahead, unfortunately, but most of the other groups mixed it up a little bit. And what we find out is that there are 3 planks. So each group of 3 will work as a heat. And these planks are 150 feet up in the air. The challengers are each harnessed in. And at the edge of the plank, where if you're tall enough, you basically just have to like stand and rotate these cubes to create a correct math equation. If you're Veronica, you have to stand on your tiptoes and get your calf workout for the day and create this equation. But the first person to create the equation gets to pick the order of who falls. So if I were to win, I drop Naomi, then Katie. That means Naomi fell before Katie did. So it's far more likely that Naomi goes into the arena than Katie does. Well, Katie couldn't because Naomi obviously finished, or Katie finished ahead of Naomi. So that's what you'd want to be, the second one dropped, not the first, because it meant you were up there for.
Thank you for keeping our podcast alliance strong.
Oh, I had to.
And not
Sorry,
dropping me
Naomi.
first.
You are definitely
It's fine. I would
third
drop you like
wheel.
a lead balloon. I don't care. No, I hated this. I hated this challenge. I'll say it right now. Why the fuck are we
interesting.
doing math in the air? I don't understand it. I don't watch this challenge to watch people struggle to do basic arithmetic. I watch this challenge. I mean, sometimes I do, but like you couldn't follow along. I think the biggest mistake that the challenge makes are puzzles that you can't kind of visually follow along. Like a complicated Sudoku or like a puzzle where like, got to match all these patterns, fine. You can't really do it in your head at home. But like I couldn't see all of the equations, and to have the results be based on like the person wins the heat and then they choose who loses and who is second. I think it should have been you complete your equation and then all the equations are different. And so the next person to complete their equation, they also like they're safe, and then the person loses. Like I think in the grand scheme of things, this is one of the more bonkers, like weird challenges to do on the challenge.
I also found it a little bit confusing to understand how, and Jordan asked the question too of like, how do you lose? Which like, okay, fine. Is it like the person who gets, it feels like it was dependent on the person who was fast enough to solve the equation and then drop the person first to be the slowest. Like it didn't have anything to do with the actual performance of the person who was bad. It was the performance of the person who won the fastest and then drop someone the fastest, which is weird. It was like very hard to wrap your head around like how to actually win or how to actually lose rather, who was going in. I mean, it helped us that like 2 people got disqualified, so that was easy. But like otherwise you would not be able to follow who was doing what because there were different heats and everybody was falling at different speeds and there was no The one thing I don't like about the challenge anymore is that they don't put like timers down at the bottom. There's no way to follow some of these, especially when they're broken up into different groups, like who's performing well and who's not. What I like, Naomi, is kind of like what you were saying, or if they did it kind of how they do the trivia, where it's like, okay, you choose like one person to fall and then like the next 2 people compete, or like they do it in multiple heats where there's like, okay, these people are left and they have to go against each other or something like that. It was just very, very confusing.
Yeah, it really put the power in the people's hands who were good at math, essentially.
Yeah.
And everyone else, you were just at the will of the winner of your heat. So I think it was also to kind of shake it up. My guess is they weren't expecting DQs, and this would shake up who would be finishing last. Because if you think of it, when they're coming up with like the grand whole like scheme of this thing, everybody in this challenge has been to a final before. You really don't have many layups in this cast. And so I have a feeling that a challenge like this, as weird as it was to watch and see who wins, who loses, or whatever, was to hopefully shake up what like the people who are going in to the arena at that point. Kind of like throw a curveball. But obviously, I don't think, well, I mean, they had to have known that Darrell would freak out. We didn't know Beth would, but that's my guess. They don't pay me though, so I could be incredibly wrong. Before we get into the actual challenge, we have to use the sabotages. So Kayla, with absolutely no surprise, uses hers on Kendall, and Brad uses his on MJ. So our first group is Yes, Mark, and Derek. Mark wins this. I expected Yes to win this, but
Same.
Mark does. He drops Yes first, then Derek. So that means he kept Derek somewhat safe. Next, we have Sylvia, Kayla, Kellyanne. Sylvia freaks out a little bit, and Kellyanne had a funny moment where she's like, "Oh, you can DQ. It's fine. It's fine." Just she was like, "You're so selfless. Thank you, Kellyanne." I appreciate a little shit talk here and there.
It's the best part of the challenge, for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it is.
Nehemiah freaking out last week is like, you know, that's the roid rage part of the challenge that we all love. But I love this where it's like, you know, let's just like totally scream at each other and make each other feel bad for kind of not doing the challenge. Because that's, I think, you know, TJ always calls people quitters, and sometimes people quit for a legitimate reason. But most of the time they're just being wimps. And I think this is one of those times.
Totally.
And Sylvia, in her defense, did like talk herself into it. She didn't completely freak out.
Yeah, she got it together.
I love Sylvia.
What do you think of Kayla's method of I'm going to spin these blocks until they end up in the right nerdle pattern of math?
I mean, it worked.
It did.
It's so stupid.
She was the fastest. Like, not to go too far ahead, but she wins this challenge. So it did work for her.
It just says more to me about everyone else than it says about Kayla, that like this strategy got her the win. There were some, I don't remember exactly the equation, but there was one that was like so obviously wrong. It was like 57 minus 4 is 22. And I was like, why would you even think that was right? Like, don't even ask for a check. That's obviously wrong. I don't know. It was just like so bad.
That makes me think of when they did someone did the puzzle upside down, right, last season. And it was just like, guys, like, do we really have like this little going on upstairs that like this is the answer we're getting and we're fine with letting it get checked? I don't understand.
Yeah, wild.
They're there to look pretty, you know.
Our next group is MJ, Jordan, and Darrell. And as we've said, Darrell freaks out. He is unable to walk this plank and do the math, unfortunately. So he's DQ'd. In addition, MJ has the minute sabotage on him, and MJ still wins the round. He beats Jordan, even with the minute. So, group 4, we have Ronnie, Beth, and John A. Beth also freaks out. I thought that it was funny, though, when Ronnie was like, I'm afraid that my kids are going to watch this and get the math wrong before I do.
Yes, that was hilarious.
Give us
That was
more
hilarious.
Ronnie. She's
Yes,
so
she's
funny.
a gem. She's a gem.
Yeah, I'm glad that she's here, and I want her on my screen more. And TJ's like roasting Beth. He didn't give Darrell as hard of a time as he does Beth, but TJ does tend to give a harder time to the women than he does men. TJ can't shake that. But he's like, you've been here for like 30 minutes. You want to go home in like 2 hours? Like, you can't even just get up and walk over here? Like, you just showed up. You can't even play now.
Kind of an iconic move from Beth to be like, yeah, I'm here, but I'm not doing this shit.
Yeah.
Like, iconic move.
Only Beth would have the
Yeah, only Beth.
John A wins that heat over Ronnie since Beth DQ'd. Our next group is Brad, Wes, and Nehemiah, our little friend group here. Brad wins, and he drops Wes first, then Nehemiah. And I liked this moment from Wes, and again, I'm biased, and he's like, you know what? Like, the three of us are such good friends. Nehemiah officiated my wedding. I was in Brad's wedding. Like, we are good friends, and the fact that the three of us are still getting calls to come and do this together, like, that's really what's awesome. Anything else is extra. And that's the type of shit that endears me to Wes, because I do think that, like, people hate him when they're on the wrong side of his gameplay, but so many of them are friends with him outside of here, and they come to the challenge and are like, he's a fucking squirrel. You can't trust him at all. Like, I hate how he plays the game, but he's actually a decent person. And like, I like that they're showing us a little bit of that, Wes, because I think a lot of times, and Wes wants it. He wants to be seen as a villain. He wants that edit. He's okay with that. He relishes in it. Like, it's fine. But I like that we're getting like the Wes that a lot of them get outside of here.
Yeah, I agree. I like that he kind of dropped that act for a few minutes because, like, he obviously puts it on for the show to be like, you know, this, like you said, like the villain and, you know, the squirrely one. So it's nice to see Wes be like a real human being every once in a while.
And then after, oh, go ahead, Naomi. I didn't know.
I was just say I love Wes. I hate Wes and I love Wes, and that's all, you know. What are you gonna
I
do?
think a lot of people feel that way. I mean, imagining the last however many years of the challenge without Wes sprinkled through it. When he's on a season, he has an impact, and it doesn't matter if he's like the second boot or he makes it to the finals. Like, he definitely changes the way that the game is played when he's there. And he's like funny along the way. Team Wes.
Remember that season where he was like, Devin is my best friend? That was weird. Everybody that season was like, my best friend. These people are my best friends. I don't know. Just like that part stuck out to me when they're like,
they did show a picture of Devin and Wes together during this episode.
That's really funny.
Oh, I didn't even notice. I must have missed that part.
Sighting. I want Devin back.
Don't put Devin on my All-Stars, please.
Sorry, I'm a big Devin fan.
I'm not anti-Devin. I used to be very anti-Devin, but I've come around a little bit on him, but I still don't think he should be on All-Stars.
Devin has my favorite tweet of this season so far, which is he was in response to Wes and Yes trying to like expose each other about this whole like alliance, fake alliance, rivalry, whatever the hell is going on. And Devin was like, you know, you guys really fucked it up. I've been waiting for years to have a Kevin on so I could have a name rhyming alliance. And you two had it handed to you on like a silver platter and you fuck it up. Like, thank you, Devin. I'm here for that because I also wish that we had actually I like those two being on opposite sides. I also like that we didn't really get much of that rivalry because there was so much of it last episode. But anyway, we keep it moving. So the last group is Nia, Veronica, and Kendall. Kendall has a sabotage against her. Veronica, I feel you, girl. She was on her tiptoes trying to reach these, trying not to fall. But she still ends up winning. The other interesting part is Nia being a flight attendant, but is also terrified of heights.
I agree with her, though. I do think it's different.
You do?
Like standing on the edge of a building and looking down is very different than being on a plane. I'm scared of both of those things, but I feel like they're two very different fears. Like I'm
so
scared of an airplane because I don't want my plane to crash, not because I'm up high in the air.
Mhm.
Well, I guess that's part of it, but like it's more like I'm afraid of like the plane itself crashing, not like
Okay,
being up so
okay.
high. Whereas like I don't want to
Alright.
fall off a building. That's scary.
I also don't want to fall off a building or have my plane crash.
Yeah. But it feels like they're two separate fears. I don't know. They feel separate to me.
Naomi, it looked like you wanted to comment on Katie's fears here. Do you have anything you need to say?
I have a long list, Naomi, so feel free to roast me
fears?
for all.
Let's talk about that one day. No, I think that like heights is, I get why people are afraid of heights. I totally do. I can't say that I know 100% if I would jump out of a plane or not. You know, if there was like a challenge on the Amazing Race, one day I could jump out of a plane. But to me, like, if you're gonna be afraid of heights, isn't part of the being afraid of heights the falling from the heights, and isn't flying partially invoking the fear of falling from the height? So like I understand what you're saying, Katie. I think Nia's a little I look, I'm not a Nia fan, and this logic made no sense to me, so I wasn't trying to understand it anyways.
I will say that I have gone skydiving, and it was actually one of the most peaceful experiences I've ever had. Which seems stupid to say, but like, because when you fall out of the plane, it's only like 7 to 10 seconds at most of free falling, and that happens so quickly, and you're just like, you don't have time to like think or process what's going on. And then once they pull the parachute, like it's silent, and you're just like gliding, and you can see for miles, and you're just like floating down in zigzags. And then once you get close enough to the ground, you kind of just like pull your legs up and you like scoot in on your butt and land. But like I don't know, just the scenery and just kind of taking it all in, like it was very, very peaceful. But anyway, I suggest skydiving to anyone who will do it. It's worth doing at least once. But we keep going. Kayla and Brad are our two winners. We find out that they did this the fastest. And so they get to sabotage people again next time. That's the best way to not get sabotaged after you've sabotaged someone, is to keep winning. So
it's true.
Good on them. They're back.
Good
in
luck
the
to
authority.
MJ next week.
True. Yeah, that's not great for him. So in the authority, we have Brad, Mark, and third guy, MJ. Sorry. I didn't write it down, and I normally do, so I had to go my authority notes.
My bad. Third guy.
So we have Brad, Mark, and MJ, and then for the women, we have Kayla, Veronica, and Jonna. So pretty hefty names in the authority this week, right?
Yeah.
And before we cut from the challenge, we have MJ saying, I will literally go against any idea that Brad has for the rest of the season.
So dramatic. Oh my God.
So dramatic. But that's what I like in my reality stars. I like the drama and the ego and the mess. So like I'm fine with it.
Brad hasn't even done MJ dirty, really, besides that sabotage.
Yeah, that's why I kind of like, because like Brad is just a big goon that like I like that someone's like, yeah, fuck Brad. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why I like it.
Going against Brad's idea is probably just going to put you in the right move anyway, because like Brad isn't the most, savvy when it comes to this. I
just picture Brad getting pizza thrown on him as he's having sex with Brittany. So I like, it's the only image I have in my mind.
That's a classic. He was way too mad about that.
Classic.
That's true. Really was mad. I liked him and Jody as a team last season. I like that because it was like kind of classic challenge to me, where it's like these are just two people who are going to like Hulk out every time. You could really count on them to do well, but it was also like, I'm talking classic challenge where like there really wasn't much of a social game. Like you showed up at the beach, someone got thrown in, and then the other person that got thrown in was usually the person who did the worst in the challenge besides the person who got thrown in, and then it went out like that way. That they gave me like very old school vibes last season, and I think that's why I like them as a team. They didn't like provide me too much entertainment value. Like Jody didn't speak, but I also like when a woman is there and can like compete and can hold her own against the men, not just against the women, but against the men. And Jody is someone who can do that.
And Jody was elite.
Yeah.
Boring as hell, but a good competitor.
It's like the Jenny is the modern day
Also
Jody.
boring as hell, yeah.
Exactly. They
But at least she had the accent, right?
True.
I'm so happy to be here on the challenge. No, it doesn't.
Hey everybody, Jenny has joined us for the second part of this podcast.
What a surprise!
TJ. No, hang on. I was doing like an accent earlier today with my boyfriend, but it's like I can't. It's like so hard to talk about. It's like right, we're doing the challenge, right? Yeah, there you go. That's all I'm doing.
And unfortunately, Jenny has to leave. She has to go back to bed. It's only 5 o'clock her time.
Yeah, it's only 5 in the morning there.
That was quick math.
I guess.
Quick time zone math. Oh, okay.
I could.
I was like, I'm impressed.
I got that 6-hour gap.
It's 4 a.m. over there, I think, because it's a 6-hour time. Or is it 7 from Central? I don't know. Whatever. I
think it's 5 from Eastern.
I still live my life on East Coast time, despite the fact that I've been in Chicago for 4 years. So ask Katie how many times I've fucked up time zones. So I've been trying to plan when we're supposed to podcast. I'm like, I can't do this. I just started math and I can't. Yeah, me too. I just put it in my time now and I let Katie figure it out.
Yeah. And I second guess myself every single time, but it's okay.
I second guess myself giving the time that is currently where I am. So I understand entirely. After the challenge, we're back at the house, and Beth is just so happy that Nehemiah is here. Her tenderoni is here, and Nehemiah says he's close with her outside the game, but's wary because Beth gets anyone close to her thrown into the elimination. I hope that's not true. I don't want to lose Nehemiah this early. We haven't gotten a lot of Nehemiah this season. He was very heavy on our screens last season with the King's Palace. I don't want to lose Nehemiah soon. So, Beth, if you cause that to happen, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, I was not. In general, I am a Nehemiah fan. Last season, I was not a Nehemiah fan. This season, I am again. I was rooting against. Is it Save the Palace that they were singing or Safety?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Save the Palace.
Safety Palace in my head. That's like my headcanon. Mm-hmm. They were not my favorites. The arrogance was a little too much for me. I like them all individually. Together, not my fave.
Oh, I loved it. I felt like it was like Black culture showing out in that. Like it was I don't know. I just was like, yes, fucking own this shit. Run this shit.
I loved them all. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't rooting for them in the challenge.
They were very like obnoxious about their winning, but I don't know. I kind of liked it just because if they weren't, then like where was the excitement last season?
That is true.
If they weren't the way they were, it's kind of like two somewhat boring alliances because you really didn't have big personalities in that non-King's Palace alliance.
It's also fun, honestly, to have someone to root kind of against. Yeah. So they like made the season very entertaining. 100%. That's why I was rooting against them, but like they were great on the show. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They just weren't who I was rooting for at the end.
Yeah. I forget who I was rooting for.
I'm always rooting for Darrell 100% of the time.
Yeah, I like Darrell a lot.
Yeah.
I liked Janelle too. I wish we got her back, but I also understand her back is like fucked up. So I'm trying to think who else was in that final. I literally watched this like a week and a half ago. MJ and John.
Oh, I love I mean, look, I know what you're trying to say. I love Tech. I love
Tech.
Tech is amazing. Tech is like incredible TV.
And then who was the other team?
Nehemiah and
oh right, of course.
What's her face?
And Melinda, yeah.
Melinda. Thank you. I kept wanting to say Meredith, and I'm like, her name is not Meredith. It's not Meredith. It's 100% not Meredith.
So then we get Beth trying to pick out a bed, and she goes into the treehouse, and everyone in the treehouse is like, "Please do not sleep here." Derek's like, "Treehouse is full, no replacements." Yeah. And
poor Beth.
She smartly picks the room with Darrell and Kendall instead. Also, she's like a bit older. I would want to be with people like closer to my age and with less people. Even like, I think that's a smart choice. And then especially after this, she has a room to herself. So
true, which isn't great for your game though.
No, because your game or your alliance a lot of the time starts in your room.
Yeah.
As the treehouse will show you.
Yes.
We get classic party shit. Kellyanne is back with her soulmate at the beginning of it. She's back with the dog at the bar. I'm so happy for her that she has found this. So I don't know if you guys were able to listen to our first couple episodes, but Jason convinced both Josie and I that Wes brought her the dog, like found it and was like, Kellyanne, here, like, we know you love animals. God. And both Josie and I were like, wait, really? I didn't see that part. And he's like, yeah, definitely. And then, then he like started laughing. I'm like, okay, well, I could kind of believe it because like, I don't know, it just seems like something Wes would do.
Yeah, it does.
So Wes brought Kellyanne the dog. She's sitting there, petting her best friend. And we've got a little bit more Beth talking to Kendall. She said she feels like a piece of meat in the lion's den. Naomi, based off of your British impersonation, can you also recreate Kendall explaining what it looks like to be that piece of meat in the lion's den?
I don't think I can. I think maybe because I've watched so much TV in between watching this episode, and well, like my Kendall impersonation is like it's really hard to compete, and I just want to show that I'm a competitor. It's like, yeah, you're here, bitch. Like, let's go. I know. Drives me nuts.
Katie, do you want to take a stab at it or
no?
Okay.
I'm not.
No. So Beth was saying that this challenge needs more OGs, and then we get Naya kind of like connecting some dots here for us, which have like slightly been connected already, but more so it's the treehouse versus all the other women, and the rest of the women are not aligning with each other.
Right.
And Kellyanne has kind of said that, like, we need to play smarter, and they're not playing smarter. They're just all floating through. And part of the issue is none of the other women are winning besides Janae.
Right.
So they don't have any power. They're just like sitting there being picked off. If they don't come together, the treehouse is just going to steamroll this game.
And Janae is not in the treehouse, but she's like treehouse adjacent, right? I think she's not in that room, or is she in that room?
She's not in that room.
But she's like working with them.
I don't even know if she's working with them. I think she's just not working against them right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Janae so like plays with everyone. Like, or not plays everyone. I guess plays with everyone. But both work. Except Kendall right now because you scorned
Kendall's
her lover.
Coming for her man.
Yeah. Yikes. So we get Mark and Darrell talking, and I thought Darrell was funny in this, where he's like, I don't really care who you put in there, like, put who you want. And he's like, but actually I want Jordan because I know there's no chance in hell I'm being that man in a final, so I need to like get him out of here now. I feel bad for Darrell, and I want to know what you guys think about this, because do you think his confidence has been shaken a bit after being in 2 straight finals and not winning either? And he was so close last season. Second place, I mean, there wasn't really a second place last season, but like him and Janelle, I thought were closer than Nehemiah and Melinda to getting that safe at the end. And then he came in second to Yes.
Well, there was drama too, right? I think Janelle had spoken out about how, I don't remember exactly what happened in the last challenge, but like the keys weren't working, or like the codes weren't opening the thing. And I think there was like production drama with how that worked. So supposedly, I think Janelle and Darrell probably should have maybe won. I'm not like 100% sure. I don't remember like the full tea, but I know like Janelle was saying there was some production trickery. So he might have even been closer than we realized to winning last season. But yeah, you're right. He came in second to Wes. And as we know, Darrell won 4 consecutive finals back in his heyday. So maybe, I mean, yeah, he didn't really do a ton to help himself this season, though. Like, he pretty much gave up 2 challenges in a row.
Yeah, and I feel like Darrell, like, his best chance of winning was certainly not against Jordan. But I think the move in itself is a good move. Like, you have 2 beasts. One of them is already stuck in the competition, or stuck in the elimination. Throw in somebody else. One of them's going to take the other out, and you are going to, like, be smooth sailing. I think it's a really good strategic move, but I hate that it happened because I really do like watching Jordan compete, and I really love Darrell. And I agree, like, Kari, like, I think the steam is kind of like he's slowing down a little bit because he's losing so much, and it's a shame. He used to brag about how much he was winning.
Right. It didn't feel like his head was in the game as much this season, maybe is what it is. It felt like he wasn't like really putting his full effort out there. Maybe it was just the fact that he's like, these challenges this season are not for me. So I'm just like not even really going to try that hard. I think he tried really hard in the elimination. I just think obviously he gassed out or whatever happened with him happened. I think you're right. Like Jordan probably wasn't the best move, but I appreciate that he had the balls to go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I get his idea of like, okay, I have a better chance of being him in elimination than I do in a final. So if you're gonna, why put in all that effort to get to a final to lose to him when you could potentially beat him now? So I definitely understand his idea behind it. I also wonder, and I like, as I mentioned to you guys, like pre-podcast, I kind of like fell out of it a little bit due to some shit that went down in my real life. So I didn't watch All Stars until like 2 weeks ago when I was sick. So like missing this drama or whatever. But the reason I'm saying this is because I don't know how quickly All Stars 2 and All Stars 3 were filmed, because part of what Melinda said was she's like, my ankle is still kind of fucked up from the final. So Darrell did that whole ass final too. And if it's only like, even if it's only like a 2-month turnaround, these people are still going home and working out to go back, especially like Darrell owns a gym. That's his life. Like literally working out is his life. Like I wonder if the turnaround time also kind of caught up to him a bit this season. I don't know for
totally
sure,
could
because
be.
I kind of missed out on All Stars 2 until recently. So connecting those dots isn't as simple as like it normally is for me. So I wonder that as well. But yeah, I just wonder if he's like losing a little confidence. He said, like, I almost didn't even come back this season. I did it for my
Yeah.
kids and my wife. They were the ones that told me to.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a season off for Darrell wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. Even though he's, like I've said, like 900 times now already, he's my favorite to watch.
Yeah.
I think, I would rather see him take a season or two off and then come back and just crush it, than come back every single season and be mediocre.
Right. I agree.
Yep.
Mark agrees that he wants Wester Jordan in this elimination because he's far likely to lose to Wester Jordan. So it seems like a lot of these men have the same mindset of like, okay, we've got a strong guy in there, so we should put in another strong guy that we don't want to see in a final. And it makes sense to me that Wes and Jordan are the names there. So before we leave the party, we get Beth and Veronica becoming besties. This is the reconciliation we've been waiting for 15 years. No, just kidding.
Beth has been waiting for it.
Yeah, that's true. Veronica probably forgot about Beth. They both agree that they're different people now. They didn't get along because they didn't vibe. And here's where we get this like confessional that they do together. Like the meeting there wasn't as good as the confessional. First of all,
The confessional was great.
Two big thumbs up to MTV doing this confessional together. Wherever the camera is, I support this. 2 big thumbs up. Naomi, what did you think of the Beth Veronica confessional?
I loved it because also sometimes I try and like see, because they've done it before where you think it's a duo confessional, but it's actually just them on the green screen and then they're put together. So I always watch very closely and I look at their arms. You got to look and see, and you can see their arms touch at one point, so you know it's real. And and I love it. I love it because you get this raw fighting without it being provoked by like alcohol. It's provoked by producers.
Yep.
It's producers being like, hey, y'all don't like each other. You want to talk about that some more? And then you're like, all right, I guess I will talk about it some more. And I love that they are so honest about like not liking each other, because you don't need to like everybody that you play a game with. I think people are real. The Survivor fans and the Big Brother fans are like, why don't you like so-and-so? Why don't you get along with so-and-so? You do not need to like everybody that you're on a cast with. And this is proof of that. I love a grudge. I love holding a grudge. It's perfect.
Same. I'm all for grudges.
Kate is the favorite of grudges.
Yes, I love holding a grudge. I love watching people hold grudges. I'm all about it. Very pro grudge.
And Katie, what do you think of this little combined confessional we get?
I mean, I love it. You guys know me, I'm here for the personalities, and this is like peak amazing personality time from both Veronica and Beth, who are two like I know I keep saying the word icon, but like, what else? How else can you describe them? They're powerhouses of this game. They're two queens that have been on here forever. They are like faces of this show, I feel like. So I love this. Give me more of it.
I thought it was hilarious, like their reasoning against each other for why they didn't get along, because Veronica says Beth loved the drama and the attention, and then Beth goes, "You're a hypocrite because if I loved attention, then what do you call it having threesomes on national television?" So go off, Beth, like live your life. I just thought it was so funny. After the party, Veronica gives Naomi a run for her money because she does a Beth impersonation that I don't know if you can top. I don't know if you can. So
Beth is hard. I think Beth is too, because Beth is just like weird. You know, like she doesn't have anything too distinct about her voice. Like Kendall has like that kind of high pitched whine, but Beth is just normal. That's the thing. It's a shame. Veronica's really funny though. Veronica has a lot of problematic parts of her past, but like she's always so entertaining. Like even when she was on the challenge, when she like totally was way too out of shape to be on the regular challenge, she was so funny. Her iconic like Leroy vote is so good, you know, like she's the best at fucking up the game.
So the girls ask Veronica like any idea on who Beth wants, and she's like, no, I don't even think Beth wants to be here. Like I don't even know if she wants to play this. She's just here. I don't know if she even wants to play. And she does her impersonation, it's so good. But we have the falling of some sexual tension here. It is crumbled. It's like the what's it, the East Berlin Wall or whatever in Germany, 1989, the year that Jordan was born. I don't know why I know that. Actually, I do know why. I got it wrong in Trivial Pursuit once, and I like just has been stuck in my head since. But dude, Naya and Jordan going at it like they're fucking 23-year-olds on the challenge on the bottom bunk. Like you see that whole thing shaking.
I don't know how I feel about this coupling.
Bad is how I feel.
I'm confused because of just their history has been so tumultuous. I mean, good for them. Work out the tension however you need. I'm not judging, but I just don't know how I feel about them as a pair. I don't think they're like officially dating or anything. I feel like they're like teasing the internet with like, are they, aren't they? So I don't know what's official and what's not, but I'm undecided on how I feel about this.
I don't know if I like care about this. Like
I guess same. Also
like,
same, yeah.
It's I don't know. It's very strange that these two are at the place that they're at now. And Yes even says that. He's like, wow, you guys have come a long way, huh?
Yeah. Which is kind of funny coming from Yes specifically, because like who knew that Yes even knows anything about these two?
Right. It just feels like strange. And like, how do you get over all the stuff that's happened between the two of you to it ends up that you're having sex on the bottom bunk of a Challenge All-Stars house? I don't know. Like, how did we get here? What decisions did we make? But I don't know. It's probably that haircut. So next we have the Authority. And my favorite part of it was actually at the very beginning when Brad says, we need to separate logic from emotion. And then Mark immediately follows it up with, Jordan makes sense to me, and gives an emotional reason for why.
I like the idea that Brad has any sense of logic in his brain.
Right. Yeah, that's first of all point number one. And you're absolutely right, Kari. Like Mark gave the most like petty reason.
He was like, I absolutely agree with you. And Mark is and then he's just like, yeah, let's put Jordan in because he said my name once. He hurt my feelings.
Yeah, wasn't it that he was giving advice to Laterrian in the elimination?
That's what it was.
Like, I heard Jordan screaming for Laterrian, so
I want
giving
Jordan
him advice.
Like, just say you don't want to run a final against him, Mark. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can admit
that's a logical reason. Yeah.
Everyone has said that. It's fine for you to admit that too. And then we get like a whole montage of people not trusting Wes. But Jordan still ends up going in. Like it's crazy to me how this works out, but I think it is logical, and I think it was maybe I can't remember if it was MJ or Mark who said it. They kind of like blend for me. Just these like two white blonde dudes that are kind of older, and they have like these deeper voices that like I know that they're different people, but they also kind of say same things. Like MJ doesn't have like a stuffed animal doll of himself. That's really the difference. And Mark isn't
that we know of.
Yeah, and Mark isn't fucking somebody's wife on the show. So anyway, so we see the vote and it was mostly for Jordan. We got a couple of Wes's and then everyone voted Kendall. And Kendall had no friends in that that authority. Veronica did say she did prefer putting Kellyanne in because she doesn't trust her gameplay. But I just feel like Kellyanne doesn't have anyone to play games with right now. Like her partner doesn't know how to play. Her partner is playing Chutes and Ladders when there's like a checkerboard in front of them. You know what I mean? Like totally wrong game.
Totally.
So I don't know. But how do you feel about these two being the choice for going in against Darrell and Beth into the elimination, Katie?
I was worried for Darrell, obviously. So I don't know who would have been a better choice for him to go against. And plus, it all depends on what the elimination is. But Jordan has proven himself in eliminations so many times. Like I'm thinking back to that Zach elimination with the mallet or hammer or whatever. And I just didn't feel like Darrell had a real great shot. I was happy to see Kendall in because I'm just kind of over Kendall and how flighty she is, and she doesn't really make a great show for me. So I was rooting for Beth.
Naomi, how do you feel about these two nominations?
I am always rooting for Beth because I think that Beth is funny and dramatic, and I would rather have someone who is dramatic in the house than somebody who is complaining about the idea of them being competition in a competition reality television program.
Wild thought.
Crazy idea. If TJ hates quitters, I don't know why TJ doesn't also hate people who don't understand how the challenge works. But to me, I love Darrell and Jordan, and so I was really bummed to see this be the outcome. But I also feel like Jordan is so much more of a wild card. We've seen a lot of Darrell recently, and I feel like I was interested to see a lot more of Jordan. So either outcome would have been fine for me. This is how I felt about like the Tyler elimination. Who was he against? Laterian or I can't remember who he was playing against.
That's a good question. In the first episode, right? I
could go back to
was it Laterian?
Oh, was he against Mark? I can't even remember now. I'm like,
LT was against Mark because that they like made the point that
one I was rooting for Laterian, but like,
all right, hold on, I got you.
Tyler, it wasn't Cyrus.
I think it was Cyrus because
it was Cyrus.
Yeah, it was Cyrus because it like last episode they were mad or Brad didn't want to put Cyrus in a second time and MJ said Brad's opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because like all of the people who've been in elimination are like swirling in my head, but not the order. Yeah, I feel like I was really rooting for either of them in that case. I love Tyler so much, but this is one of those eliminations where you're like, I guess this is just how it's gonna play out. Fuck, man.
Yeah.
Especially since like Darrell was kind of welcoming it as well. Something I respect the most about Jordan, the challenger, and removing him from Jordan, the person, is that Jordan will get through this game with no alliance. Yeah. He doesn't need anybody else. That's what differentiates him from Wes. Wes can't get wherever he needs to. Even bananas. Like Jordan can do it on his own. He doesn't need protection. He welcomes, and no pun intended, the challenge of what he has to do. And that's what I like seeing in a competitor. And that's why I love the fact that like if you were able to ignore the problematic things that Jordan has said, that he's one of the best to do this. And with one hand, like that's on top of it all. It just amazes me. Like he beat someone in a tug of war game with one hand. Given it was Josh Martinez, but he beat someone in a tug of war game with one hand. It just, I love it. Anyway, so when Jordan gets told that he is being put into the arena, he takes it in stride. He's like, I get it. I would put me in this situation. And we get a little confessional of Wes being like, this is exactly what I want. Jordan's going in and I don't have to do it. So Wes is getting what he wants like Wes normally does.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we get Kendall being told that she's in for the women, and Kendall like kind of freaks out a little bit. Like, you're not sorry. Don't tell me you're sorry. You're not sorry.
Which is fair. They're not.
No.
I wouldn't be like, I would probably be the same. Like, don't tell me you're sorry. Like, obviously you did it, so you're not sorry. If you were sorry, you wouldn't have done it. So I don't disagree with her reaction.
I just don't know like what else you want people to say to you when they're telling you that you got put in. That's kind of also like, I appreciate that there's a potential for conflict or interaction that they have to go and tell them. But I also liked last season when they had to walk down and see the board, and then like,
I prefer that.
I like the board better than being told.
Same. And that reminds me of like old school challenges too.
Yeah.
I prefer that.
And after Kendall's little freak out about the women, and I guess men, not being sorry about putting her in, we have Jordan and Naya's relationship again as the focal point. And Jordan says that their relationship means the world to him, the literal world.
No.
Did I cut out?
No, we were just enjoying it.
Okay.
I just don't have anything to say.
You both like made the same head motion at the same time, so I was like, oh shit, did I freeze? And that's when Yes is like, yeah, you guys have come a long way, and Nine's like, yeah, I don't want to, like, I'm do better when I'm attached to someone, and 50% of my energy comes from him. And Jordan, like, I don't understand how Jordan has this like trance on different challenge women. He really has done it throughout the years.
I have a guess.
Tell me.
Maybe not a. Well, I mean,
come on, Katie.
What do you think?
My guess is that Jordan knows where the clitoris is, and that's the only reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And he understands.
Mm-hmm.
He's like he's a charming guy, and I get it, but also I think that Naya is like really fucking weird about this.
Very, yeah. It's a weird. The whole relationship is weird.
Do you think that? I say last night, figuratively. Last night was the first time that Naya and Jordan had ever hooked up.
No, I don't think so.
No way.
All right.
Because I think it would have been a bigger deal. I think they would have been like, wow, I can't believe we crossed this line. But like the way they kind of hint at it, it's kind of like, yeah, like there's a lot of tension.
And I think they were taking vacations and stuff together.
Were they?
Before this. So I think that's like where the picture was, where he was like kissing her in the cheek or something. I feel like that was like at a resort or something. I could also be very well making that up, but I think it was like something like that.
All right. Well, I wish them a happily ever after. So sorry, I tried to say it with a straight face. We get a little insight from Beth and Darrell. Kendall's a good competitor, but she's here to show that she's here to play. Darrell almost didn't come back, but it was his wife and kids who told him to. And then we cut to the arena, which in today's is called the Steamroller. So Darrell really hypes this up. He says they're getting a pay-per-view event, which, I mean, I think everyone felt that way, that like we've got two powerhouses going at it. But I really do think that especially every men's elimination from here on out, like, will have that hype.
Yeah, I've been trying to think this whole time, like, who would have been a better choice for Darrell to go against to give him a better shot. And, like, I can't think of anybody because everybody that's left is a really good competitor.
I think his best chance would have been against Yes.
For this specific elimination, I totally agree. But I guess it's hard because, like, you don't know what you're going to be doing. But I totally agree. Like, if he had a choice at this elimination, Wes would have been his best option here.
Wes or Yes?
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes would have been his best option.
So I was like, Wes has still got some size to him.
Yeah. No, sorry.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, but
those
that's
rhyming names.
Jordan isn't like the biggest. I think Yes is a little smaller than him, but for this competition, like, I didn't think that. I thought Darrell stood a chance once they explained it.
The thing about Jordan is I think he's like a triathlete, and I think
Yeah.
I don't know. But he has really great endurance, and I think he's just very smart. Like, he knows his body really well because he's such an athlete that I think he knows exactly like where to place. And we saw the way he was positioned in this challenge was smart.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody else probably would have thought of that strategy.
No, I agree with you
Yeah.
entirely.
I love the challenge, though. I have to say, I wish
this was
the
great.
problem is, like, you wish that there were ways that this could be more evenly matched than like Beth just being like, all right, heave, and then like doing it for Kendall. But I like the idea of the challenge because it just goes back to like the raw physicality of like, figure this shit out. And then you see someone like Jordan win against someone as big as Darrell, and you go, oh, this is feasible. It's just like you have to be such a good athlete to figure it out.
Yeah.
Between being an athlete and being smart.
Yeah.
I would fail.
Jordan is like the definition of work smarter, not harder.
Truly is.
Yeah.
And Kendall isn't, hence her struggles. But let's quickly explain, in case you're someone who listens to us because you love our voices and you don't watch a show, what this elimination was, because we've kind of talked about it. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you're probably like, I don't get it. So there is a cylinder, and the cylinder is split in half. So one competitor is on one side of it, one competitor is on the other. The cylinder is going the long way, so it rolls on the ground. And basically, your goal is to roll the cylinder to your side of this. I don't know. How long do you think that even was? Like 20-ish, 30-ish feet? It didn't seem that long.
I have no concept because I don't even know what 150 feet looks like. So for me, I'm like, I don't know, 6 feet. I have no idea.
Yeah, they were able to have like a wingspan in it. I'm just like,
oh no, I meant like the length of the area they had to roll.
Yeah, I have no way to even fathom how. I don't even have a guess.
But I did it because I'm like, is Naomi like trying to arm span her way to like?
It looks
how
like
long
a bowling
that
alley.
was?
It looked as long as a bowling alley or something like that. Is what my vibe was.
I think it's a good comparison.
That's a good visual.
How long is a bowling alley? Like,
I was gonna
10 feet, 15
no,
feet.
It's no, Katie. It's definitely
Are you sure?
I was gonna guess like 32 feet. How long is a bowling alley?
My guess is 15.
60 feet.
No way. Okay, I have no concept of what a foot is, obviously. I have no concept.
It's only 6 times longer than you initially guessed.
My bad.
It's all right. It's fine. We're good.
Listen, I'm not a math teacher.
I was still pretty off. And I've bowled a decent amount in my life, I guess. Okay. Oh, hey, Nitro. So we've got basically like you have to figure out a way to position yourself in the tube where you can use your body to push it forward, or if you want to try and like hold it steady, whatever you're doing. But I would say that the tube that they were in, the cylinder they were in, was probably no more than like 3 to 4 feet high, because they had to, they couldn't like stand, they were crouched in it and spraying their legs in ways to, I don't know. But so that's the best description I can give you of this elimination, called Steamroller. Yeah. And Mark thinks that weight is a huge advantage in this event, so he thinks Beth and Darrell are going to win. We get the women's elimination first. We get Beth's confessional being like, Kendall probably already has a strategy and I have no idea what I'm doing, which is funny to me because I think Beth is a smarter person and player than Kendall. And
like,
so
when has anybody ever said, I think Kendall has a strategy?
Yeah, never. I mean, look at her sabotage move. No one. No. And Derek says that Kendall's either going to drown in her own tears or climb over all the women to the top. She's the most fragile yet resilient woman in the game. I mean, I think
that's fair.
She does have, I can't remember what she has, but she has some sort of like, I don't know if it's a disease, disorder, whatever it is that like basically causes her to be very fragile. So he wasn't wrong. But Beth, essentially, like Naomi said earlier, she like heaves her way through rolling this cylinder to her end. She wins. And I think the most important part of this is the confession we get after from Veronica when she was like, Kendall was supposed to beat Beth. We were supposed to send Hurricane Beth home. She was supposed to come here and she was supposed to leave. So do we think that Veronica and Beth become besties?
No, not even a little. I also like, as much as I want Beth there, and I'm thrilled that she won, how hilarious would it have been if she came in as a
Yeah.
replacement, DQ'd because she didn't want to do the challenge, and then went home, like essentially that next day? Like, how incredible. That would have been the funniest thing. But I'm glad that that didn't happen.
That was the only reason I wanted to see Beth lose. Like, I wasn't actively cheering for either person. I didn't particularly care. Just because I think it means like Kellyanne is going to go next now that Kendall's gone, and I like when Kellyanne's around just because she's funny, and a little bit crazy. But that's why I was like, okay, if Kendall stays, it protects Kellyanne a bit. But Beth losing right now would just be hilarious that she like got on a plane to be here for 3.5 hours.
Yep.
It would have been hilarious. And I love that Beth continues on. Like, that's the thing. Kendall was all fired up after she lost. Girl, where was that the whole full episode? Like, what are you doing?
So are you still sorry? Like, no, or this is what we wanted.
No, you're gone.
Actually, this is exactly what we wanted to happen. Yeah.
This was the strategy. This was the game plan. We threw your ass in there. No one's sorry for you. And then we get the men's elimination. And so I don't know if it was because I was typing and like I didn't see it, but it pretty quickly, like, Darrell pushes the cylinder to like his side. He wasn't far from winning.
No.
He was like maybe a half a cylinder roll away, maybe a full cylinder roll away at most. I won't ask you to try and figure out the distance, Katie.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
But Jordan figures out a way to position his body, which I don't even know how to describe it. Do either of you have a way to describe the way that Jordan managed to hold Darrell there for an hour?
It almost looked like a plank, sort of. Like he was like in the middle and like straight in the middle. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It felt like he really like centered his weight.
It almost felt like he was like a spider monkey. Like he was just trying to like I don't know how to describe it, but that's what he was doing the whole time. You'll have to tune in for the video podcast for that.
And we are there for a long time. So Jordan's strategy is, if I'm not going to be able to move him, I'm going to annoy him. I'm going to talk his ear off. I love when he's like, hey, Darrell, how much you weigh? And Darrell's like 150.
Darrell, how many cookies did you eat? Yeah, so good.
Oh, maybe I should have gone on that cookie diet. Veronica's like, Jordan's not going to tire out. He runs 10 miles, bikes 50 miles, and swims 20 miles on a Monday for fun, to which, like, facts. Yeah. But we get a little bit more of just Jordan. He wasn't exactly like talking shit either. He was just like talking. There's definitely like a bit of competitiveness to it, but he wasn't disrespectful by any means. And I like I said earlier, anybody talking shit, I love it. And he does this for a full on fucking hour until Darrell is like, yo, I can't feel my quads anymore. Yeah. Like, I think I might be paralyzed, was a direct quote.
Yeah, I mean, he says he thinks he might be paralyzed, but then like he's also like, I've never felt this pain in my life. But I'm like, okay, so you're not paralyzed because you can feel. And then like the medics tried to touch him, and he's like, don't touch him. So I'm like, okay, you're obviously not paralyzed. You're fine. Yeah, not fine, but like your legs are still functioning.
How surprised were you when he like put himself out of the tube?
I was shocked. I was really shocked when he left the tube because I thought he was just gonna kind of like give up and like Jordan would roll him.
Yes.
But like I was surprised that I had to assume it hurt that much that he stayed in the tube so long. So it's really really something.
Yeah, same. I was shocked. And I was worried. I was worried for him because he was just really laid there for a while.
Yeah. And he was, I mean, when the paramedic touched him and he screamed, like, don't fucking touch my legs, I was like, oh shit. Like, he is definitely feeling it. He wasn't in the smartest position because he was almost in like a squat for that long. Like, imagine doing a wall squat for 56 minutes. I think it was at like the 56-minute mark where he kind of like gave out. 56 minutes is a long time. So
it almost felt like if he moved his position and just gave one huge, like, he could have probably gotten there. So I don't know why he chose to stay in that position for that long. Yeah. It seemed like Jordan, in the position that he was in, I think if he just like took a shift, I don't know that he would have been able to quickly like get into the position to like roll the thing. But I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, that's true.
I think he kind of needs to take like an LT chance, like against Mark,
Right.
where
Right.
it's like, is this going to work? There's a chance that it will.
Yeah.
But am I just gonna lay here for the rest of the night against Jordan, who will lay here for
Until he dies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sincerely. So I do kind of wish that Darrell, I mean, given we saw like basically his lower half like froze up on him, so
Yeah.
but made that move a little bit earlier. What are
Yeah.
you gonna do? So Jordan ends up winning. He gets out and he immediately like doesn't celebrate. And I feel like this is a change in Jordan. I'm wondering what you guys think. I feel like past Jordan is letting everybody know, like, guess who's back? And it's me. And he just like stands there and is like, oh shit.
Yeah. I think the thing is, I think he has respect for Darrell.
Mhm.
Where I think if he was against either someone he didn't know or didn't have like a ton of respect for or like, he probably would have been that same like arrogant, cocky Jordan. But I
Mhm.
think because he probably like actually has some respect for Darrell and also saw Darrell like laying on the ground in pain, he probably like immediately was like, oh, this is not a joke.
Mhm.
Yep, Katie said it as best as I could. If it was anybody else, when he kicks Wes's ass down the line, we will see the Jordan we all know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So we get Darrell being backboarded and brought into an ambulance, but he says he'll be back, but he's going to squat a little bit more before he comes back next time. So I'm glad we saw, at least in confessionals, that he was leaving good spirit because we all love Darrell. Anybody, I don't know a single person. I've podcasted with probably at least 6 or 7 people now about the challenge, and there hasn't been a single negative thing said about Darrell. And anybody who has something negative to say about Darrell, you can get the fuck out. Forever. I don't
know how anybody could possibly have a negative thing to say about Darrell.
Right.
The day that something bad comes out about Darrell is the day that I lose all faith in the challenge, because at least Darrell is Darrell, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely. And we get Wes again admitting some of his weaknesses. He's like, Jordan coming back is not great for me. I can lose to Jordan on any given day in any given event, and it scares him that Jordan is back. I'm wondering if we're setting up for a Jordan Wes elimination.
I feel like we are getting set up for a little bit of a pivot and we get a Jordan West alliance.
Ooh, tell me more.
That's my theory. My theory is that they're actually secretly working together behind the scenes as it is. Like that's kind of my theory. But I feel like we got a glimpse of it last week where they were like kind of agreeing on stuff and Wes was like, oh, I guess I have to work with Jordan, we'll put it aside for now. And I kind of feel like that the rest of the house is so against Wes and Jordan that they are going to have to kind of partner up at some point in order to, if one of them gets into the authority, they will probably keep the other one safe to get rid of some of these other guys that are going for both of them and then be like, we'll take each other out later. That's kind of the sense I get. It just feels like they're spending so much time on Wes and Jordan for almost no reason. Like what happened? Jordan threw a sausage at Wes or something one time in a bunker and now they hate each other. Like I don't really understand like where that came from. So I feel like that's like a loose storyline of them going against each other anyway. And I feel like it's going to turn into them working together.
Do you think they hate each other?
What a time to be alive. I don't know. I mean, it seems like that's kind of like the narrative they're going for, no?
I don't know if they hate each other. I think I think Wes is afraid of Jordan and Jordan just doesn't have a need for Wes in his life. I don't to me, I think like Wes and Yes actually grow to genuinely dislike each other versus more so than like Jordan and Wes. I think like Wes respects Jordan in terms of like what he has done in challenges. But I don't know if they hate each other. If they do hate each other, I'm missing it entirely. But I think like
maybe they don't. I'm just thinking of that sausage.
Yeah. I think both options could happen. I think like Jordan and Wes could be put against each other because obviously that's outside their control. Or we can like see them start to work together, especially because they both don't like Yes.
Right. And I feel like Brad and Mark are both going to go for them. I just feel like eventually it's going to better serve them to work together than against each other if all of these guys are also against both of them. Why not partner up to try and get some of these guys out if they can?
Yeah. I agreed with when everyone was coming for Yes and they were saying like yes, hasn't gone into an elimination and he won. I agree with that mentality. If somebody hasn't earned it, right? If they haven't gone into an elimination, sure, that's a nice accomplishment for one season. Don't let it happen again.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever been in an elimination. I feel like that's what they said in that episode. Like he's never. I don't know if they're just talking All Stars or like his entire career. I took his entire career. But even if it's just All Stars, like yeah, how is Yes getting by?
Right.
How are you not taking shots at one of the former champs? Like, don't you want someone different to win? I guess same thing with Jonna though. But Jonna keeps like getting herself into the authority, so that's a little different. But
yeah.
And we end this with Beth saying that she hopes she's taken seriously as a competitor after this event. Maybe, Beth.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know if that'll happen, but maybe.
Maybe.
You know what she will get taken seriously as? Someone who stirs the pot. Because in the preview for next week, we hear her say, Jonna is cheating on her husband with MJ. And isn't MJ married?
I don't
believe
think
so.
Oh, he is?
Or at the very least, he has children.
Right.
Well, there were a lot of rumors about last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was informed of the rumors from last season. I was sort of following that, and like the only reason that I like don't like okay, sometimes I enjoy it when it's like clearly someone has a shitty boyfriend, like like when Cara Marie was cheating on Abram, like Abram sucks, and this like we mostly know, so it didn't really affect me that much. But like with Jonna, I always really love Jonna, and like to me, this is one of those things where you're like, I really hope you're not throwing away like your family for this fucking guy from Pennsylvania who wore cornrows on national TV. Like this is who we're throwing it all away for.
She gave him the cornrows, to be fair.
Yeah, that's the bummer part of it to me is like I just wish that this wasn't happening to somebody I liked so much. But I kind of love that Beth because I was like they're not going to talk about it. They're just going to make it seem like they're close friends, and then they're not going to. And then Beth came in like the train like plowing through the station. I was sick. I can't wait to see this episode next week.
It felt very heavy-handed, like in the confessionals too, with Jonna being like, MJ is like you go after MJ, you go after me. And I'm like, you act like you're in an actual relationship with this person when you are married to someone else. Like it's weird. So I feel like that editing was kind of like on purpose. Like they could have left some of that stuff out. So obviously we're going to get some drama out of it. That felt like foreshadowing a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. And that's what Beth is here to do. She's here to fuck shit up. Maybe not game-wise, but at least socially.
Love it.
All right, I have a question for you both before we leave. So, currently, who do you think is playing the most under the radar game for the men and the women? And then second, who do you think is most likely to win in this current positioning that we're in? Give you a second to think about it because I have my under the radar answers so that you guys can think while I'm talking. Just ignore me or something. I think Nehemiah is currently very under the radar. I think he's really only on Yes's radar for their beef in that last challenge. But otherwise, I think he hasn't put himself in the authority yet. So he hasn't had to piss anybody off. And no one's really saying his name much. He's lost allies very quickly. Like the king's palace doesn't exist anymore. It's just the king. He's gone. Or everyone else is gone. It's just him. And whoa, my computer is trying to update right now in the middle of a podcast. Like, no, fucking roll, buddy. You can't do that.
We only got 10 seconds left.
Yeah. And then for the women, I think Ronnie is most under the radar. I just don't know if she has the athletic ability to remain under the radar and be successful. But I don't think that anyone is really gunning for her because I think that both sides are like trying to take each other out, the unaligned women and the treehouse. And I think Ronnie's in the treehouse, but I think she's like the least in the treehouse. She's kind of like climbing up to get to the treehouse. She's not exactly there yet. So those are my two. I don't have winner picks yet, so I won't contribute those. But does anyone want to volunteer to go first?
I agree with you, Nehemiah. I actually think Mark is playing a really good game. And I think Mark Long always does play a really good game.
Yeah.
He has been in the authority, but nobody's really mad at him. He is making moves that are very beneficial to himself. And I think that he's very strong. And if he gets to a final, I think he would give a lot of people a run for their money. Which is why I always hate that Mark Long is on the season if he puts the season together, because it's like, well, what the fuck, Mark? Like, you can just put whoever you want on. But now it's a little, now it's bigger and less his baby. But I think that he could win. Is he the person I want to see win the most? Absolutely not. And honestly, if you're telling me pick who you think's going to win, I'm going to say Jordan. I think that Jordan's going to win. But in terms of the women, Ronnie's under the radar right now. I actually think Sylvia's doing a good job of hiding behind Kayla for the moment. And I think that probably winning, I think John A., if MJ doesn't get targeted, the John A. MJ alliance is going to take John A. like really, really far.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think Nehemiah is probably the most under the radar guy in the house so far, because I think Brad and Wes are just always going to be out in front of him. And I'm interested to see how far he can go if he can get to the final again. He did really well last time. So I would like to see him do well again. I am a Nehemiah fan. But that's a great point, Naomi, about Mark. I think you're right. I think he tends to be kind of like out front, but no one really looks at him. So it will be interesting to see how far he can go. In terms of the women, I agree about Ronnie totally. I think Naya too is playing an under the radar game. I don't think anybody's really looking at her. Her challenge performances aren't really like standing out to me in my mind, but I know she in the past has been really good. So I'm curious to see if she can kind of take it all the way without really getting too looked at. I think the treehouse, the Kellyanne stuff, and I think some of the John A stuff is going to end up starting to blow up because she just keeps winning and she's working kind of with the treehouse, but then also not. And then the MJ stuff is such a spotlight on it that I think that's going to end up kind of blowing up in her face, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think we got very solid answers there. Well, do we have anything else we need to say about episode 4 of All Stars? Perfect. I take your silence.
I've said my piece.
You said your piece. Great. Well, I hope it wasn't too brutal of an experience and that you'll join me again in the near future.
Wonderful.
I mean, Katie, you're stuck with me regardless, so I wasn't talking to you. All right, so
Where's my boss?
I am not. We're partners. I have my romantic partner and I have my podcasting partner. Then those are my 2 partners, and then I have a dog. All right. Katie, because I can find yours first, what are you doing on the internet these days? You only told me like 4 hours ago, but tell me.
I'll keep it quick. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RealSlimKatie. You can find me on twitch.tv/RealSlimKatie with an underscore at the end. Feel free to come by and follow. We play some cozy games, very casual, talk a lot about reality TV and all of the things. You can also find me on The Cool Water Show, talking all things Real Housewives with Kari. Also brought to you by Silent Podcasts. And you can find me also with Kari on Stop Being Polite, a recap of the Real World Homecoming New Orleans. Really loving talking about that show. We put out an episode earlier today about episode 6. And starting tomorrow, you can find me and Naomi and Isaiah on our new Obi-Wan podcast called The High Ground. So please feel free to come by and give us a listen. I just found out that the episodes are dropping at midnight Eastern, which is in 11 minutes from now. Ooh. So I'm very excited to just go pop them on my couch right after we're done. And we'll be talking about those tomorrow, which I'm very excited about.
Nice. Naomi, yes. I had to make one of these for you. I hope I spelled everything right.
Yeah, look. If you can't spell, it's okay. You can still follow me on Twitter. I'm Naomi Calhoun. Katie, look, I'm going to follow you on Instagram right now.
Oh, yay.
I haven't even done that yet. And
I'm sorry. It's a disappointing experience. I don't do anything. I should stop plugging it. I'm very inactive.
I think it's fair, though. I don't plug my Instagram at all. And then people request to follow me. And I'm like, do you deserve to see photos of my dog?
Same.
Yeah, I am covering there's 2 more episodes of Top Chef. So we are talking about the episode that aired tonight with the Quickfire Queens, Gia and Nicole, who are amazing. We did Project Runway for Silent Podcast as well, which was so much fun. And what else do I have going on in my life? Oh yes, I am. I have a podcast called Mike White Was Robbed, and that's where I talk about Survivor. I talk about whatever the hell else I want to talk about with my friends. If anyone wants to come on, please tweet me your hot Survivor take, and maybe we can chat. And I'm very happy to have just been on Nothing But Netflix for RIGP, and that was super fun. So you can listen to me and Chappelle and Rob talk about the Abercrombie documentary about hot people wearing tight, little, ugly, cheap fabric shirts. So yeah, it was a good time.
All right. And then for me, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Venmo, KGD26. If you want to watch my Venmo requests, or it's basically a lot of tutoring money, but keep that on the low because I don't get taxed on that shit. Anyway, so KGD26. And in addition, I'm podcasting all the time over here on Silent Podcast. As Katie mentioned, we just recorded Stop Being Polite, episode 6 of 8. Unfortunately, we're getting to the end of this Real World Homecoming season. I podcast about The Circle on Alert Alert with Josie Ann, and we will be finishing that up this week because we had the finale yesterday. And then I also do a weekly podcast with Katie on Real Housewives on the Cool Water Show, and you can follow our Twitter at Cool Water Show. But that's it. I'll have some stuff coming up as these shows are winding down, Real World and The Circle. So stay tuned if you like listening to me, and if you don't like listening to me, still give us 5 stars because I find great people to come on and talk to you instead of me. All right, listen, no one likes a snitch, Glances, okay? So keep this to yourself. But you can follow Silent Podcast, where we are expanding literally by the second. We are doing interviews. Oh no, my banner's still there. Get out of there, Kari. Okay, you can follow us as we expand. We are going to be looking to cover more scripted TV, more reality TV in these upcoming months with brand new podcasters as well. So on Twitch and YouTube, Silent Podcast, and then our Twitter is silent_podcast. And don't forget to follow the Cool Water Show as well. But that is it. That's all we've got for you. We'll be back next week. I don't know who's going to be here. We'll see how it goes. But we'll be back on Thursday covering next week's episode of The Challenge All-Stars. Until then, enjoy your week, night, day, whatever time it is. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.